Hi everyone, it is Aya James. After testing a few more variations of the Chain Lightning build, I made an updated Chain Lightning Conjuration build that one-shot elites 56 levels higher, melt bosses in 26 seconds that are also 56 levels higher. This build is tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon viable and very similar to the previous Chain Lightning build that has infinite mana and 0 cooldown ultimate. Please refer to this Chain Lightning video for the details on the shared synergies and the reasonings behind choosing the skills, the gears and aspects, and the Paragon Board. I will do super fast recaps on those shared synergies in this video, plus the key updates and tips on pushing tier 90 plus Nightmare Dungeons. And let's begin. First, a quick recap for infinite mana. I recommend to use this build if you have more than 35% base crit chance or more than 30% crit chance plus 10% mana cost reduction, and complete the Zenith dungeon to be able to imprint the recharging aspect. Otherwise, you may find there is not enough mana to cast Chain Lightnings freely. If you haven't reached this minimal requirement, check this level 1 to 50 build that I optimized with my latest knowledge in the pinned comment. The build also has the skill leveling path, which you can refer to level by level. It uses all dungeon unlockable aspects that you can target from each of them from the corresponding dungeon. I use the Maxwell interactive map to search for the location for a specific dungeon. I will link the map tool in the pinned comment too. This early game progression build runs the basic skill Spark that you can cast when you run out of mana. It has lower overall DPS, but it is worry-free to cast everything and still blast everything since you face enemies of the same level at that point. Second, for the skill updates, I removed the passives from the Ice Blades. I will cover the detailed reasonings in the next section, and let's move on for now. Then refund 1 point from the Ball Lightning and 2 points from the Crossing Currents, as this build is extremely hungry for skill points for more synergies. The reason I can safely refund 2 points from the Crossing Current is that this decreases my overall crit chance by only around 1.2%. which is a minor loss. Check this video on the actual crossing current yields if you are interested in the details. Then invest points into the Hydra skill, and make sure to select the Summoned Hydra passive for the burning synergy. And last, refund 2 points from the Chain Lightning, and let's put 3 points into the Devouring Blaze, which improves crit damage to burning enemies from Hydra. Also, this build focuses on improving crit chances, and uses the Asus Heirloom, which synergizes extremely well with the Devouring Blaze. One more note is that some people may find there are too many crackling energies on the ground if you have the Asus Heirloom, and may find it a waste. If you find it similar to your experience, refund 2 points from the Static Discharge and put into the Hydra for further damage. I will scan through other skills quickly, pause the video if needed, and I recommend taking a look at this Chain Lightning video for why choosing each specific point in the skill tree if you haven't. There will be a link in the pinned comment. For the reasonings behind removing the Ice Blade passives, I removed the first passive, the Enhanced Ice Blade, because we are not running the Ice Blade on the skill bar. The Enhanced Ice Blades will just be wasted if we add point to it. Also, I did a few testings to confirm removing the second passive, the Summoned Ice Blades, would still lead to 0 cooldown ultimate in most cases. Here is a chart of my actual Nightmare Dungeon runs recording the cooldown time between the two ultimates. You can see that both with and without the passive, I got an average of 31 seconds ultimate cooldown from the dungeon progression. One note, since the ultimate lasts for 10 seconds, it means only 21 seconds is needed for the ultimate to be ready again. Usually you will feel it is back so fast that you can use it seamlessly. The reason there is no difference in the ultimate cooldown is that I have more cooldown reductions from the gears when running without the Summoned Ice Blade passive. So the cooldown reduction loss can be compensated by a slight cooldown reduction improvement. It is a bit different for boss fights. You can see that there is a 4 seconds difference. but even a boss that is 56 level higher is melted by this build under 26 seconds, so it would not matter that much for this 4 seconds difference in my opinion. Next, even though my original thought to use the Summoned Hydra is to add burning synergies to the build, a hidden mechanism or a really bad bug largely improved the Hydra's damage, as the burning damage scales with the enemy level. And I did a bunch of local testings, and the results are too surprising to me. Before diving into the analysis, I want to clearly state that I use the Summoned Hydra in this build mainly for the burning synergy. I hope Blizzard fixes this ridiculous damage bug soon. As for the analysis, in short, the Summoned Hydra can improve its base damage by more than 1500%. Or in other words, if I choose the Summoned Hydra, the Hydra will deal more than 15 times of its damage to tier 85 plus enemies. Have to say that this is just broken. To give you some high-level idea, from my rough calculations, the Summoned Hydra contributes to around 7% of my overall damage in a tier 41 run, around 24% of my overall damage in a tier 67 run, and around 38% of my overall damage in a tier 87 run, and it will be more in a tier 100 run. The calculation is rough because it is not easy to collect the damage numbers versus high tier monsters, as I need to take my amulet off that has the bubble heart so that I can see the damage over time numbers, while I'm losing the max value disobedience on my amulet too, leading to me getting one shot very easily. So it is extremely hard to stay alive while maintaining close positions to the enemies and watching them getting burned for more than 6 seconds without killing them to get a stable damage over time number. So the data I collected here are a bit rough, but my conclusions should be relevant enough to help you get an idea about the magnitude of its damage and make a decision. And since this burning damage is bugged, I did a few more testings to confirm the following 5 factors that will impact the Summoned Hydra's damage. These observations are reliable as I did the testings in lower tier dungeons that I have more variable controlled. Also, the absolute numbers in the following tests don't matter since I took a number of gears on and off. The relationship between the numbers is what we care about. First, 2 Hydras double the burning damage versus 1 Hydra. Pretty intuitive. You can see 3k burning per tick for 1 Hydra and 6k per tick for 2 Hydras. Second, the Hydra skill rank affects the burning damage. So I collected the burning damage numbers at rank 1 and rank 5. The actual burning damage has the same relationships to what the skill description is. Third, the burning damage is the same for different enemies. You can see they are both around 6k for the Skeleton Warrior and the Skeleton Crossbow. Fourth, the burning damage receives bonus correctly from other damage amplifiers. Like if I teleport to stun the enemy, the burning damage gets doubled or tripled easily because of the crowd control damage amplifier, the Tarasha Heart, and the Considia aspect. And last, the Burning Board legendary node is additive, not multiplicative, to the burning damage. So if I add the Burning Instinct, it shows that I'm going to get a 358% bonus to my burning damage. From my testings without the Burning Instinct, the dot from 1 Hydra stabilizes at around 5k. With the Burning Instinct, dot from 1 Hydra stabilizes at around 10k5. So it is only around doubling the damage, because I have these many damage bonuses to the damage 2 bucket. Also, don't confuse the damage with burning with the damage versus burning, as this damage with burning only applies to burning damage, not the damage versus burning where it adds additive damage to burning enemies. I tested that with or without the burning from Hydra, my teleport deals the same damage with the Burning Instinct. Glad there's no bug here. For gears, I made 2 versions, the all-rounder version and the full DPS version. The all-rounder version is a balanced version between damage and tankiness for a consistent experience leveling up. The full DPS version focuses more on damage, but you might experience more dyings while progressing. Pick one that suits your style best. If you are coming from the Chain Lightning build, swap the offhand from the Broken Tether aspect to the Serpentine aspect. If you are coming from the Thor Conjuration build, update the gloves from the Control aspect to the Storm Swell aspect. Because of the 100% vulnerable uptime from Frost Nova and Ice Blades, and 100% barrier uptime from the skill Protection. While the Control aspect is not useful against bosses and unstoppable elites. Also, the Barber Heart is the biggest damage amplifier in the build. I recommend not to wait for a perfect amulet, but to commit your Barber Heart to a decent one early to enjoy the big damage boost first. Blizzard has largely buffed the Wrathful Invoker drop rate, that it is very likely you will find another Barber Heart before finding a better amulet or ring. You may find the damage number on your screen lower than what you expect. This is because gear stats play an equally important role as the skill tree and the Paragon Board. If you are curious about how to further boost your damage, check the pinned comment for an endgame damage enhancement guide through gear optimizations. I'll scan through other gears quickly next. On the left, I'll put the stat priority or replacement if it is a unique. I made 3 Paragon boards for level 70, level 85, and level 100. Refer to one of them according to your levels. If you have watched the previous Chain Lightning video, I updated the 6 Glyph from the Enchanter to the Flame Feeder since we have Burning Synergy now in the build. The Glyph upgrading order is Destruction, Exploit, Control, Tactician, Elementalist, and Flame Feeder. Upgrade them one by one to level 15 first, and then upgrade them to level 21 following the same order. It can be very challenging and fun to push tier 90 plus with this build. The skill rotations can be a lot different than tier 60 plus runs. First, it is very important that you initiate the fight with enemies first, before they can attack you. Then further crowd control them and take them down before they are unstoppable, or run away when they are unstoppable, and engage again when you have teleport and monsters are not unstoppable. For the specific way to engage, I recommend putting the 2 Hydras down and cast the Lightning Spear first in a safe spot. Then teleport, Frost Nova, evade and spamming the Chain Lightning inside the burst window of stun, frozen, and 30+% crit chance boost. This is another example where Hydra will guide you where the enemy would be so that you can get prepared. But if you see dangerous monsters or get ambushed, don't cast the conjurations at that moment because the enemies are not crowd controlled and it will usually be a death. Instead, always use the teleport or Frost Nova to crowd control the enemies first, and cast the Hydra and the Lightning Spear after for damage. It will be much safer this way. And last, don't teleport into unstoppable enemies. An elite becomes a real boss when they are unstoppable. One extra tip is to avoid the suppressor effects on the Nightmare dungeon. The damage from both the Chain Lightning and the Hydra gets blocked a lot, that it can be too difficult to complete such a dungeon. This is my favorite build now given the new Burning Synergy introduction. I hope you treat this build as a base build and adjust it to your favorite style, and fine-tune it through all the testings, analysis, and tips in this video, and eventually beat the tier 100 Nightmare dungeons. If you like the video, please consider sharing and subscribing for more min-max and fun sorcerer builds. Thank you for watching and see you next time.